Yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. Hello, Sly. Hello, Best Team Maker. So we're live. Hi, welcome everybody. For everybody on the stream, and to Sly and Best Team Maker, welcome to the the show, I guess, quote unquote. I've never really done something like this, like a podcast or whatever. So this is kind of introductory for me. But yeah, this is episode 1. We're starting off as mere babies. Sly here is my mother, maybe my father. Sorry, excuse me. And we're gonna tread up the ladder and tread up the ages of life as we get to ages 2, 3, 4, and then ages 10. I'm looking forward to our double-digit episode. And that's gonna take a while though. At that point, Sly will maybe be in his retirement home, trying to care for us, or trying to care for me. Excuse me. But on this show, I'd like to think of myself as the absolute stars of the show, and you guys are just like my lowly people that I talk to, and I attempt to bring you guys up through the remainder of this podcast, because clearly nobody knows if you guys are like Hank or whatever, who was going to show up on this show, and so I try to use the limited time I have to be able to rise you guys up. But anyways, how are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, Eric. Yeah. Sound like you're doing pretty well yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm chilling, man. Rough day. Well, not too rough of a day at school, but it was all right. How about you, BTM?
Yeah, it's been pretty stormy out lately. I heard that you got a storm earlier today.
Oh yeah. No. It was like something like it was supposed to be like 8 inches of rain. I didn't really keep track. I don't really have much to keep track with, but it was supposed to be pretty big. It was raining all day, but yeah. Anyways, we're not here for weather. We have time to talk about Splatoon, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about Splatoon. And just to keep in mind, so I'd like to keep this discussion very much. I'd like to have a policy of like not looking at chat, so we can keep it very much going amongst each other. But just to introduce ourselves more clearly, maybe for those that may not know us as quickly, I'll start off. I guess I'm Eric. I lead endgame here. I'm not that great of a Splatoon player. I was able to cast over Booyah Battle 2 though, which was put on by my friend here, BTM. And yeah, no, I just cast and do busy work, and that's fun. Anyway, you want to go? You can go. Blah.
All right, I'll take it next. I'm Sly. I'm also part of Endgame TV. Been helping a lot with Inkstorm and such, and I'm a member of Offshore. I stream a little bit, and have played in most of the tournaments that they've entered up to this point.
Yeah.
All right, and I am Alex, also known as Best Team Maker Online, and I'm part of a group called Hypest Tournaments, where we host a lot of tournaments, mostly for Smash Brothers, but we're now branching into Splatoon right now. And so far, it's been a pretty great ride. We just came off of our Booyah Battle 2 tournament, so congratulations, and thanks for everyone that entered, and thanks especially for Eric for volunteering to commentate for that. That was especially last minute too.
Yeah, no, I woke up planning to be somewhat productive with my day and not spending 5 hours casting and not eating, but it turned out pretty good. Yeah, I have the utmost respect for you guys at Hypest, because you guys, I look through your like challenge page and I see like pages on pages on pages of tournaments. I'm like, holy shit! How do you end up doing? Like, how do you do that much, especially for the Smash community? But it's cool to see you guys branching out into Splatoon and everything.
Well, shout outs to everybody at the Hypest team right now.
Yeah.
They've been putting in a lot of work, and we're sort of in the transition period right now. And we're hoping that this will be the big year for us. So we're just gonna keep doing as we do before. Keep hosting tournaments for online events for everyone to enjoy.
Okay. Well, sounds great. Yeah, you can follow them. You can follow Hypest at Hypest Team, I believe, on Twitter. But yeah, that's about it for general information. Let's go ahead and talk about stuff. Now Splatoon. I'm sure we have varying opinions on this. I don't know if you guys caught it, maybe on Reddit, maybe on whatever Nintendo news site you visit frequently, but there were news that Splatoon actually caught up to Mario Kart 8 in sales, which is absolutely phenomenal. I can't even say the word, so I'm just going to avoid it.
Phenomenal.
But that being said, no, it's absolutely astounding that something something as established, an IP as established as Mario Kart, something that's as celebrated as Mario Kart. As someone, I say this as someone who comes from a competitive Mario Kart community. I think it's absolutely astounding that Splatoon has outsold that. It's also been on track with Smash Bros. As well ever since it released, at least. Of course, it hasn't outsold it yet, but it's been on par with it. And I think the millions in sales and the millions in revenues that it generates is very promising, specifically for a new Nintendo IP coming out on a really underperforming console. And yeah, like I think something that's like really something to note about all that is like a lot of the success is in Japan, right? And I think that's a little bit of a concern, at least for us Western players, and us people that like to act as if the world revolves around the West, but it doesn't, unfortunately. But things are looking up for Splatoon, and
I'm pleasantly surprised that it caught on in Japan really fast too, because the Japanese aren't very well known for shooter gameplay. I mean, you just don't see Japanese players play FPSs or TPSs or anything at all.
Yeah, no, and to touch on that, actually, just the fact that they even hold so strongly onto a console in general is just is a feat in itself. But yeah, FPSs are not very. I think not highly looked upon is not the right word, but like I guess it kind of gets that idea. And yeah, so that it just even illustrates even more how astounding it is that Splatoon has really even broken out. And I mean, we can't say it's really gone to its popularity. We can't say it's gotten to like a huge popularity level in comparison to other stuff we've seen go popular, like League of Legends or CS:GO. We're definitely not going to compare it to that kind of stuff. And we can't even compare it to like
one day.
I hesitate even saying one day, but no, but like even comparing it to Smash Bros, which is probably the closest comparison you can make to it, considering it's a Nintendo IP that's going somewhat big. It's still nowhere near that, and I think that's very important to really like highlight, despite its initial commercial success. And I think even with the commercial success that has come along, I think we're going to be in this one for the long haul. If we're looking to get Splatoon to any competitive grounds, I guess, or esport grounds, I guess. But so I guess I want to ask you guys some questions. I wasn't able to get to Splatoon for a while, actually. But I remember there was a lot of talk about, before the August patch, like what is Splatoon going to look like? And, is Nintendo going to really gear this for us, or are they just like really playing with us? This game looks really cool coming out at E3, but like, are they really going to even bother to make this somewhat competitive? Like, what were your guys' impressions about the game when it was first released? And like before that August patch that came around and really allowed us to start hosting these tournaments and stuff.
Well, I personally wasn't able to get the game until the August patch, so. Personally, I'm not really sure what happened before that, but there was a sort of a general confusion, I guess, about how the game was released, because it came on as we're going to release little bits of it at a time so that you'll get used to the game. Like, rank mode didn't even come out until they saw enough people got to level 10 on Turf Wars. And then slowly over time, after people spent time on Splat Zones, you got Tower Control. And they sort of meter out the releases of the game.
Which, to be honest, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like, I still don't 100% get. And it looks really weird to outside people saying, Nintendo really only allows you to play like 2 maps at a time. Is that right? And it's really hard to like explain yourself like, yeah, but it's like still all right, kind of. And yeah, it was one of the weird things that I saw when Splatoon was coming out that I kind of had my doubts about.
The developers did explain a little bit on the 2 maps per rotation. It's just their whole plan behind all the intermittent releases of everything was just to very slowly just let all the players really delve into each map and each mode and each weapon before letting them go on to something else. That's the whole point of the 2 map 4-hour rotations. you can pick the weapon that's really good on those 2 maps and really go at it.
So basically, Nintendo is our father and mother, and they walk us down the park every Sunday, and they really insist on being able to box the way we play, and until we are finally quote unquote able to understand how to play the game. Basically, that's how I look at it as. I don't know. Maybe that's how I see it, and it's like kind of tough to like wrap my. Maybe I'm just too tough on it.
I mean, Splatoon in itself felt like a really big gamble for Nintendo because it's a genre that I've never seen Nintendo really dabble in. I mean, was there ever like a true Nintendo shooter? I know there was some on-rail stuff like Star Fox and Sin and Punishment games in the past, but
if you count
Metroid,
like
the Metroid Prime
GoldenEye
games,
right, but that was like a story-based shooter.
Yeah.
Really, like the big Nintendo multiplayer shooter was probably GoldenEye on 64. Now that I think about it, and I mean, when that came out, that wasn't really Nintendo. That was Rare, but it sort of sparked this wave of console FPS, and it's been a long time since then. So them coming back to Splatoon, it's like we're gonna try something new. We're gonna experiment it, and let's hope that people understand what we're trying to do with it. And it could probably seemed like it was babying people at first, but I think over time people just got used to it.
Yeah.
And they just said, I just want to play Splatoon.
Yeah, no, I think, I agree that, like, you get used to it. But I'm just saying, how does that look to other outside people, like, when you're going into a game and you're like, oh, okay, so this is Nintendo's new IP. Sounds cool, Good idea. I'm glad they started getting their head out of their ass and decided to make something other than Super Mario Bros. 59. And, really decided to take a look at other games. Okay, let's see they 2 games. 2 modes? 2 maps? Sorry? 2 maps. Okay.
well,
Nintendo.
with the August, you can, that's true. But with the August update, if you've got that group of friends that's really about the game, then you can get into that private room with 8 people and play whatever you want. And that's the whole point. It's like the random squads is just to, in my view, it's just to keep warm with the game. But if you really want to practice with it, you delve into that private lobby.
Sly, this game was released. Do you remember when this game was released?
I remember when the game was released. I bought it on release.
So you remember that it was May, the end of May, yeah?
Yes, I do.
So you understand that, like, how many months are between May and August, right?
I do.
2.
I do.
I mean, if we're gonna, it's end of May, so let's be like July.
I mean, I defer to the notion that we will never understand what Nintendo is thinking. We will never understand their ways. Everything they do is off the rocker. Everything they've done, from the Nintendo DS to the Wii to, just everything they do is so weird. And so off the books.
I'm tempted to think that that Nintendo actually, had everything able, ready to be able to do that stuff. They had everything ready behind the game, but they probably still insisted on doing it the way they did it, which I find hilarious. But whatever, either way.
I mean, they've definitely had everything ready behind the game for the most part. I mean, they released the weapons, and there's no update or patch or anything. It's already in the game, as shown by the hackers and such. It's all the stuff is already in the game.
And I just don't, I think, we get used to it, right? But, when we're talking about, appealing Splatoon to a wider audience, I think it just looks really weird from the outside. And it pushes, I think, in my opinion, it pushes people back. And that's why I bring it up. And that's why I feel like there is a point in talking about, impressions before that August patch. With that being said, though, it's funny to talk about before the August patch and, talking about, competitive Splatoon before August patch when we didn't even really know, what private rooms were going to look like, what lobbies were going to look like then. And the first thing when I think of that is, the whole concept of Ink or Sync when they organized the tournament, a couple of weeks in advance. Sly, you were telling me this yesterday about how you found it funny how Ink or Sync was just trying to organize a tournament when we didn't even know if what is it?
We didn't even know that if the private lobbies were going to allow you to set the teams, or if it was going to be random. I thought they might pull a Mario Kart 8 and make it the random teams every private lobby. I was kind of worried about that, and I see the tournament being formed before we even know if that's going to be a possibility.
Yeah, and I was absolutely bewildered as to like how how that could even be done, you know. And I mean, talking about Inker Sync in general is just like an absolute tragedy, and I'm glad. I mean, I'm not glad that Hank had an emergency, but I'm kind of glad he's not on this podcast now because now we want to
Ooh.
about Inker Sync, and I'm sure Best Team Maker as a tournament organizer has more than a couple of words to talk about Inker Sync in the spectacular tournament organization that was behind Inker Sync.
I've only heard things about it, and I've sort of watched from the sidelines. I didn't really get involved with it really at all, but you sort of have to admire the people that wanted to start this right away from the get go. But I think what's really interesting is that people were worried about, is there going to be like good multiplayer options, like in private mode? Can we choose our teams? Can we choose a map and mode? And the fact that we did get it, you know, great. It was amazing. It's amazing that we got it. And I think it points to sort of the developers themselves, is that this is a new team that's working on this game. It's actually the people who work under Miyamoto, and they decided to just come up with the concept of the game based on sort of Nintendo guidelines of gameplay first. And you sort of see how young these people are, how they have these like ideas that, you know, Nintendo wouldn't really do, like online multiplayer, an online multiplayer focused game, room lobbies with choice, and all these different things.
Yeah,
I mean, clearly these aren't like the older Nintendo developers. These are people who want to come in with fresh ideas, and you can clearly see that in the way they sort of play this game, because it's still, to me, it's still hard to believe that this is a Nintendo game. I mean, it feels really different from usual Nintendo games. Like, there's no real clear, no simplistic story. There isn't really a mascot that's there. There's no mascot in it that comes from another Nintendo franchise. This is all Splatoon in it, and I think it's pretty amazing what they were able to do. And talking about the tournament scene for a second, going back to that, you can see that people really wanted to play this game. When people first saw screenshots and videos of E3, people were just really excited for the possibilities that this game could bring, and you can see people wanted to bring out these competitive tournaments. As for the organization of Inker Sync itself,
yeah. You know, they sure wanted to host the tournament. That's for sure. You know, if I was in their position, you know, I know that a couple people in their team, and I know it's unfair, you know, to judge the character and well-being of someone by their age. But you know, when you look at the, I mean, I recall seeing like a 15-year-old on that TO team who I didn't. I'm not gonna, you know, never mind. But
I mean, credit to them though. They were able to get actually a lot of teams to get into that tournament, and I mean, for the, like one of the very first tournaments on Squid Boards to appear, and there's 64 teams competing in it already. That is a lot of people that want to play this game.
As cool as that was, yes, it was certainly. I think that had a large part to do with how. I think that was one of the few tournaments that Squid Boards decided to promote. Also, on top of that, because it was the first Splatoon tournament that was like promoted in any sense of it, there were people that reached out to Squid Boards on Twitter, like, you know, famous commentators. I recall seeing James Chen, TK Breezy, among some others, you know, saying, "Hey, I want to commentate." And all these posts, all tweets linked to that thread that now has about 60,000 views, which is pretty spectacular in its own right. But I think it's important to note that I think a lot of what Inker Sync did, what you might consider as successes, really just was based on the hype that was, you know, the first Splatoon tournament, and they had a great opportunity to be able to do something with it. I tried actually helping out, and I don't think many people know this, but I tried helping out as much as I could. They invited me to a chat. We called for about 30 minutes or so. It was somewhere in the middle of that call that I realized these people aren't experienced and they don't know exactly what they're doing. And I told them when I was leaving that call, I told them, it's really, really not a good idea to change what you said was going to be a one-day tournament to a 2-day tournament and now a 2-week tournament. This is a really bad idea. You guys should really work towards getting this done in 1 weekend. I think it can be done if you put enough hard work into it. 2 days later, I come online. There's this big post about, hey, we're gonna let you guys play all your if you have a round of matches, you got to play all those matches within a span of 5 days. And I'm like, oh, okay. I tried. I tried. God bless him. I tried, but it didn't work. And I don't know. There's something. I mean, if Hank were on this podcast right now, he'd be telling me something like, the main TO, like he left or something, and
Oh wow.
some other that noise, and like he doesn't have any responsibility. I don't exactly agree, and I wouldn't be pulling any punches. I'd want to see what Hank thinks about it. But yeah, go ahead.
A lot of the reason why they changed it to the 2-day per round thing or whatever is because there was a lot of doubt I just saw on the thread, I followed it for a little bit, there was a lot of doubt on the thread about getting the tournament done in 2 days, getting all the matches done in like 5 or 6 hours per day. And just people really didn't want to not be able to play their matches, so there was just a lot of pressure on them to make it so that you could play your matches whenever. I just remember that from the thread, and I feel like they were really pressured into that situation.
Right, and that's 100% understandable. But when you're doing, I feel like when you're doing something as big as what it became to be, when you have these, big time commentators trying to come out, I feel like there has to be some sense among these people thinking, maybe this is getting a little bit too big. Maybe we should ask for help. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. I'm being a little bit. I'm being a little bit too critical. I understand.
I mean, getting the timing down for any tournament is tough in general.
Yeah.
Like, our first Splatoon tournament went on for 9 hours because we tried to do it in 1 day, and we came across so many disconnection issues. A lot of people AFKing, a lot of people trying to wait on their teammates because they got up to go to the bathroom and now they haven't heard from them for like 5 minutes. So it's a tricky thing with online tournaments because there's an element you cannot control. You cannot control where the players are. So you just sort of have to pray that they're going to be there and that they're going to reply to you when you try to respond to them.
Oh God.
Where are you? We're
Is
supposed to play
BTM
your
dying?
game 20 minutes ago.
He's kind of dying
I
for
wanted
me.
to.
Yeah, BTM, you're dying just a little bit.
Well,
Oh God. God bless him. I think he's out. Peace
Hello?
out, man.
Hello?
I think he's gone. I think he's gone.
Can you hear us fine, BTM? Or are you gone?
Hello?
Hello?
Oh,
That sounded slightly better.
It sounded. He still has the same
Alright.
face. I want to go
Alright.
up
Hold on.
and just want to grab his cheeks and just wiggle him. Just be like, hey, you still there? You still there? You sure, man?
hi. Can you hear me?
Well,
Yeah.
the voice is working fine now.
No, the voice is dandy. All
Oh,
right, there you go.
There's the cam. All right,
We're good?
Yeah.
Am I live?
we're good.
Yeah. No. Okay.
I think in general, timing is just a really hard thing to get down for online tournaments, and you're never really going to get it right no matter what you do. And all you can really do is when you decide to host the next one, just improve upon it. I mean, it was one of the reasons why we decided to go for a 2-day tournament because it was just easier on us to sort of space it out that way, especially because this is a team-based game. So just allowing for that sort of time is something you have to learn over doing it multiple times.
Right. And you know what? I fully understand. I get it. All my criticism is in the wishing of that, that there was a little bit more patience, or maybe that there were people more familiar with tournament organization. Like if there was something like Hypus that hosted InkerSync, I would have been like, "Woo, we made it." And I think it's just the real shame that a tournament that had so much community attention, so much potential. And I generally don't like talking about potential because it doesn't. There's no concreteness to it, but it had so much potential to like really make a huge first impression on anybody that had been watching, and it just kind of fizzled out in the public eye just because everything everything that turned out. It just turned out that way. And it was really unfortunate, but that thus is the tragedy of planning tournaments before you even know if you can actually play in lobbies. And apparently, yeah, that's how it happened. But
I think one thing I did like about Ink or Sync is that you did start to see teams forming. I think
yeah,
that's where you see the heart of the competition is, these groups of people coming together. And I'm pretty sure they all know that this is a tournament that, is run by probably first timers, is run by people who probably don't know what they're doing. But, hell, this is going to be fun. Let's just get a group of friends together. And I just went back and just to look at their bracket for a second, and I'm recognizing names that are now, in the spotlight for Splatoon teams. Like the top team of that tournament is still Squid Squad.
well, I mean, I'd say they're definitely up there, but I would say they're like, yeah, definitely top 3. I mean, if you're really being a bit cynical, maybe top 5. Especially delightful, maybe a Squid Squad fan, then yeah, sure, number 1. There you go. But yeah, no, I think they're definitely up there. But with the recent Booyah Battle results, it was unfortunate that Booyah Battle too. I mean, let's be real, yeah, that was unfortunate in itself that their player, as you were saying before, in the complications of running an online tournament, that there are things that can happen, like your mother taking your Wii U and throwing it across the room, out the window onto the car next door. But it was really unfortunate that had to happen.
I'm actually, yeah, it was a little sad because I was actually looking forward to that matchup because it would have been basically a run back from the first tournament where Choke Squad and Squid Squad of Spades faced each other in the tournament. They actually faced each other the first time in winners quarterfinals, I believe. And I believe Squid Squad Spades took that 3-2. So I was looking forward to it, but again, online tournaments being as volatile as they are, it's just something you have to roll with. But I don't think it sort of diminishes how good they are because they've been very consistent in their placings throughout several different tournaments.
One thing to note that I think is pretty exciting is that it's not really only Squid Squad anymore, and I think that's been the exciting thing about these last couple of tournaments is that you're seeing these new teams rising. I mean, Meme Containment Unit or Who from this last Booyah Battle tournament was like really fun to watch, incredibly fun to watch. But it wasn't only them really. It was I mean, you saw the Squid Box. They're reigning champions. I guess they've won a couple of the last tournaments. Most recently Booyah Battle 2, of course. I don't know. There's just like more teams rising that I am really excited to see. Offshore, like Sly's on Offshore. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do. Yeah, no, I think there's more tournaments, more teams that are coming up, and I'm looking forward to see how they play it so that, it's not only 1 or 2 teams that are always in the finals, but ultimately, hopefully, a nice conglomerate of like 8 or so teams that, are always trying to fight in there. But anyway, this is...
I mean, what's really cool is that now we are sort of in a period where people are getting more comfortable with tournaments, more comfortable with scheduling. So you see more tournaments coming up. You have the guys who are running the Splatoon Community League are running their bi-weekly events now, and they're becoming more often. And then we have tournaments that want to pull in big numbers. We have this weekend is Nintendo's tournament, and he wants to. You just see people are really excited to play this game, and now that we sort of a sense of organization, of scheduling, and getting teams together, I'm pretty happy about the sort of the immediate future of competitive Splatoon because you can see how people are dedicated to a game that barely has any spotlight on it. But
now, well, with that being said about everything about tournaments and such, I want to talk about whether there's any substance to it, and I think Sly. I remember Sly, you were telling me yesterday your impressions, and you're kind of especially regarding streams and like viewerships and turnout, like in particular people you saw. I forget how you phrased it, but I have kind of similar thoughts in that I am scared. Maybe scared is the wrong word, but I am somewhat scared of the possibility of the Splatoon community going somewhat stagnant. I think it's really promising to see, these tournaments starting to be formed, and of course with time and with consistency in tournaments and leagues and whatnot, you might be able to see this the community grow into something really special. It definitely has the potential to do something like that. But I think one particular statistic that I looked at when I was joining Squidboards for the first time, Squidboards had something like I think it racked up a couple thousand people, and within the first like couple of weeks of it opening, way back, way back.
Oh, that was even before. That was just when the E3 trailer came out.
Yeah.
And Rapture just wanted to get get into it right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and now you look at the member count. It still has. It started with like 4,000 or 5,000 members. That was like way back, and now we're at a time where it's like nearing October. We're still not out of 10,000 members on Squidboards. It's grown. Splatoon has grown in substantial places apart from Squidboards. Unlike other communities, like the Smash Bros. Community, where like Smashboards is really a huge conglomerate of where you see a lot of competitive attention. It's really dispersed. Attention is super dispersed right now. The big four, I guess, I said it before on the Booyah Battlecast, but NeoGAF, 4chan, Reddit, especially Reddit, and Squidboards. And it's this sort of divided attention that like you don't see in the most comparable community Smash, and I think it can definitely work, and I think it'll develop more.
To be fair, this is a new game. This game isn't like 4 or 5 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, give it credit where it's due. It's I don't know I don't know if I would have expected this game to have rocketed numbers to the numbers equal to Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they did, I would have been like, wow, this is an amazing game. Good job. But I think for what it's worth right now, I think I prefer to see more dedication coming from the players themselves. I mean, if you go on to the forums for Squidboards, for example, you usually see like the same people posting, and you can see them really pretty fervent about the game. And from time to time, you'll see new people popping in their heads and, hey, what is this game all about? Can I join in too? I'm really curious about this game. And it's just something you just sort of have to see slowly grow over time. I don't know if there'll ever be like a huge exponential rise of members to join in, but I think where it's now, it's still growing pretty steadily.
Yeah, that was what Iric was referencing that I had been talking about before. Was I'm popping around Splatoon streams and I'm seeing a lot of the same usernames in every stream chat, and it's getting pretty consistent on who I can expect to see where. And I want to see those new people you said like popping in saying, hey, what's this game about? Can I join in? And I want to see that. But in the Twitch chats, it's a pretty established group of people that I've been seeing around.
Well, Twitch streaming in general sort of relies on having a personality to follow. In terms of Splatoon personalities, you don't really see too many people. You do see some people working hard to interact with their fans and try to show what they're doing with the game. But again, it's something that you sort of have to build up over time. Like, you're not going to immediately get followers to watch you play for the game. I mean, if you really want to, I mean, I guess sort of secret to Twitch success is to understand what your audience wants to see. And I think we're all just sort of reaching around, like, what do people want to see on Splatoon in terms of streaming, in terms of spectating. I mean, if anything, seeing the last weekend's just commentating on Splatoon alone, we're able to get one of the highest view counts for Splatoon during that weekend, which is really great to see. And you can see that people do want to watch it. They are interested in seeing the game.
Yeah.
I mean, Hearthstone sort of has this issue too, where you see the same people like jumping from stream to stream to stream.
But I'd say Hearthstone still has some relative success, and that's that's kind of reaffirming.
But like the idea that only like the same people are going to those streams, it's not really an uncommon problem that Splatoon. It's not a problem sort of solely associated with Splatoon, because it's a game that sort of relies on its fan base wanting to watch the games, and to pull in. I don't know what you need to do to pull in new members of people. But I think one way to start is to just start to understand what your audience wants and slowly grow it over time.
And yeah, bouncing off what audiences want and like what we saw this past weekend, I think it's very safe to say that a good amount of people just really, really enjoy watching competitive Splatoon. It's watching Booyah Battle happen, especially how spontaneously it was done without any. I mean, I say this as the person who just like woke up at 2 p.m. and was like, oh, all right, let's. I guess that's a good idea. This it worked out, and I mean, 330 viewers. You might say, yeah, it's not too much comparison to whatever, but like this is Splatoon that doesn't like it. Give me a break. Like it doesn't really have much to its name in terms of like massive viewerships and like casting or whatever. And even with the absolute mess that it was at some times, especially considering that not enough streams, people like being subbed out or whatever, and streams that weren't the greatest quality or whatever. Even then, like it still turned out to be a relative success. And the fact that people reacted as they did, to be honest, as the guy behind the cast, I didn't think it was going to be received as well as it had, just because it had so many problems. I just thought it was just going to be met with like, oh, this is kind of cool, but like, no, it was met with like ferventness, and people were just like absolutely waiting. This is absolutely waiting for that kind of like reception and presentation, and even with the lack of presentation, it was so. It was pretty promising to see.
I mean, it helps that like Splatoon is like extremely dynamic in its gameplay, and anything can happen. Like, for example, during the offshore versus Octarian Legion, that very first game where your team pushed, like in the first like 10 seconds of the game, pushed the Rainmaker all the way to the base, and everyone in chat just went nuts over that.
Yeah.
And you saw a similar thing in I think it was the Squid Box versus Choke Squad in Grand Finals. Immediately, it looked like they were gonna the Squid Box were gonna get away with another 10-second victory by using a sploosh-o-matic, which is considered not a great weapon to use. But it worked out so well in that battle, and it literally came down to the wire where Boba from Choke Squad just popped up and killed the Rainmaker at the very last moment, and everyone in the chat just went nuts for it. And it's really I'm really happy to see that Splatoon has its potential to become a great spectator sport, because you have all these like back and forths happening all the time. You have people arguing about which team they're rooting for, who they want to see win. I mean, you saw Resbit and Boba from Choke Squad just became instant celebrities during that battle, which was really hilarious to see.
With that being said about spectator sport, typically in spectator sports you tend to have I don't know, this thing called a spectator mode, and typically this thing allows your viewers, your loving fan base, people who are passionately cheering for one side or the other to win. You tend to have that mode for them to actually see things, and Nintendo hasn't exactly made that accessible in the slightest. Do you guys think this whole Splatoon community could like go anywhere without, even without a spectator mode? To be quite frank, I think there needs to be some level of Nintendo interaction and promotion to be able to help in the form of a spectator mode, for example, to be able to even give Splatoon a lick of a chance at launching as a quote-unquote esport. I don't think it can happen, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
It could. It would certainly speed up the process for sure, having the spectator mode and being able to show all points of the game. As it stands right now, though, I mean, it's still going to keep growing as it is, and with the tourneys and maybe some more casts, it'll keep growing faster. But it'll certainly be stunted, and I don't know if that will ever result in a cap in the growth without spectator mode or not.
I think what will be sort of the big deal is you see people who really love the game do whatever it takes to get this game seen by people. And, I mean, capture cards are expensive, of course, but the people who really want to show off Splatoon and play Splatoon and show people what they can do on Splatoon, they're going out of their way to make the money and to buy those capture cards. And I think that dedication to this game and just to the community in general to show what you can do on your own, and I think that's sort of the ingredient is needed is that you just need to continue to show that support that I like this game a lot. I am willing to spend money to play this game and show people that I want to play this game. And please, Nintendo, please notice me. It's probably the best we're going to get at this moment.
Yeah. Let me pose a question for you, Bestie Maker, and Sly knows of this question before. So we asked the streamer, what I personally I think some of the key ingredients in making something an esport. One of them is absolutely 100% the spectator experience.
Right.
And my question that went out to Sly, and eventually one of the a kind of main Splatoon streamer was, how willing would you be, despite your audience, despite whatever going on in your team and with your stream, how willing would you be to just cut off everything but just have game audio and gameplay, and that's it? And it wasn't met the greatest. Let me pose this question to you, Bestie Maker. What if you were a large streamer? Let's say you pulled in, hypothetically, let's say 1,000 viewers each time you streamed. Even if not 1,000, let's say 100. Some guy comes up to you and says, "Hey, we really want to make this community as big as it can be, but in order for that to happen, we would need you to we would need everybody that's streaming to pretty much just make their stream as good as possible for a potential cast. With game audio, no webcam, pretty much no voice communication, which means, by the way, you can't look over your VOD and look over whatever voice communication that your team made and point out mistakes. No, you can't do that. Just absolute bare minimum gameplay. Would you react any particular way to that?
I'm sort of confused by the question. Are you asking if
would you agree? Would you agree to those quote unquote terms and conditions? I guess that you would have to provide bare minimum gameplay and in being able to participate in a casted tournament. Would you be 100% fine with that?
So basically, if you want to enter this tournament, you have to have the ability to stream.
Stream. Well,
you have to have the ability.
Okay,
so we know that you're streaming already. So we want you to strip down your stream just to gameplay and the gameplay audio with no face cam, no layout, no Skype or TeamSpeak or whatever's going on in the background, and just have the gameplay so that we can cast over it. Would you be willing to do that and direct all your viewers over to the cast as well?
I would be willing to do it because it's just more about promoting the scene in general, because on my own I won't be able to do much, but if working with other people, I think it will help a lot. I actually asked one of the streamers, Little Sound DJ, about that, and I asked him, "Hey, just want to know, we really want to see your perspective of the stream. Would it be possible if you could turn off your overlays and your face cams?" And I wasn't really expecting the answer from that. I was like, do you want to do it? Because we can just not look at it. It'll be fine. We can find someone else to do it. And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And he just turns off everything and got it ready for us.
What? What?
Unfortunately,
no. Okay.
Unfortunately, that was the match where they had to forfeit because one of their players couldn't play. So,
dude. Okay, I kept out names intentionally because I didn't want to put anybody on spotlight. But me and Sly asked that exact same. Oh my god, we asked that exact same question to Lil Sound DJ before the cast started or anything, or before he knew what anything looked like, and he was like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. So that's why I kind of brought it up. But cool. It's cool to hear that he was cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are sort of willing to do it. I mean, to worry about views oh, you're going to steal away my audience, that's kind of weird to do, especially because Splatoon streaming right now barely has an audience. So I think just doing whatever you can to just help promote your stream is sort of the right step in the moment right now. I mean, right now it's very, very early in competitive Splatoon right now. Right now we're at the point where it's just people who are very interested in the game wanting to come together to play the game. And there's no money in it. There's not much eyes on it. It's just basically a community of fervent fans of the game. And
you say no money in it, but quick plug-in. Inkstorm, October 10th. You should sign up now at endgamegg.net. Anyway, yeah, tournaments, money. Yeah, it isn't quite there yet. But with that being said, there have been sponsors that have been coming onto the scene. You know, when we talk about sponsors, we don't mean like Counter Logic Gaming is now entering the fray. No, we don't mean like Fnatic or Team Solo Mid is exactly entering the scene by any means. But you see these like very very small esports teams that are coming out and actually putting out some Splatoon teams. And as a person that played in a competitive Mario Kart community for like 6 years, and it's seeing like very little to zero attention for the most part, to get that kind of reception from like esports teams, quote unquote, I think is very, very positive. I mean, you see these small teams like, I mean, what have been some teams that have been like doing stuff?
All right, we've got Panda Global so far, Siva, Bittersweet GG has definitely been showing some interest, and they've announced that they will be sponsoring a team. And then also most recently, Exultants for Imperius.
Right.
Those have been the 4 so far.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's new. That's the one I haven't heard before.
Yeah. And so yeah, no, these teams. Yeah, it's cool to see that like some teams are willing to like dedicate resources and being able to maybe like help with like this whole streaming aspect. And since capture cards are so expensive and everything, my problem with it, and this, I think sponsorships are great. They're fantastic. But I think when you go to like, when you see a team like being sponsored and you're like, oh, fantastic, this is great, you know, sponsorships, our community, you know, this is a small game, but now that we have sponsorships, we are there. And I think, you know, that's a very natural reaction to have, because sponsorships in general have had a vast, huge importance in establishing and legitimizing mediums beyond the video game realm. You look at like skateboarding, for example. Skateboarding was like started in the 1950s, 1960s, but you really don't think of that. At least we don't, because we were really born in that day and age. Whenever I think skateboarding, though, is when it got big in the late 1990s and early 2000s, when ESPN picked up the what is it? I think it was like not the X Games. Was it the X Games? It may have been the X Games. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, like in skateboarding in particular, it was this large, vast underground sort of culture, almost, and it continued for 30 years and never really rise to some public platform, and it really just held to its own, and until 2000. It didn't really get too much public spotlight, apart from being something that like made your kid into a devil, and like, or just was really representative of like punk culture that like no parent ever wanted their prepubescent like child like delving into. No. So it was never until it was legitimized by a large sponsor like ESPN that skateboarding became acceptable to a larger audience. And there's other examples, of course. I mean, you can look at esports in particular, how sponsors have a huge role in saying this is something that's okay to look at or pay attention to, or this is something that you should be interested in. Sponsorships have a vast, huge importance in that, and I totally get that, and that's totally respectable. With that being said, I think people are getting a little bit too excited over the quality of sponsors that we are getting. Like people saying, "Oh, we're esports now. We're there," and not like I say that like jokingly, but I think there are people that legitimately think this and like say 100% seriousness when they say sponsored. Hell yeah, esports. When like I hop on over to Siva Gaming and they're like 100 followers, and I hop on over to Panda Global and they have like 1,000 followers, and it's like, oh, yeah, we made it all right. That's it. I don't know.
Well, on the concept of the sponsors themselves, I was talking to one of the people behind one of these people who are sponsoring, and I sort of posed a question too. It's like, why are you sponsoring a team for this? There's no visibility at the moment. There's no money in it at the moment. Why bother doing it? And the answer I got was that because we love the game a lot, and we like the game a lot. We like seeing people play a lot. We want to be able to help people who enjoy the game, to play it the best way they can. And I think that's sort of where most people are going at it right now, is that they just see how much fun the game is for the people, and they want to support that in any way they can.
Which is
And
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, and it's also sort of like a long-term gamble. It's like hopefully people will be able to see how great this game is, and they'll put eyes on it. And I think right now it's just getting word out that people are want to play this game really competitively. And I don't know. Doing it for money, of course, is a really, really bad idea. But in the spirit of promoting people to play the game and show people what Splatoon is capable of, I think is a good step forward at least. It's done by smaller teams, yes, but it's still good to have some sort of name attached to what you're.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. No. And
Pretty much.
I think I think I think a vast majority of people that say that when Splatoon is esports now, I think the vast majority of them are joking. But I see people on Twitter, I personally think are great people, that will legitimately think that Splatoon is somewhere even within the realm of esports. And while I think it's like on the outskirts, behind, under like a couple pebbles of sand or something, like it's on the outskirts, very much on the outskirts. I think it's definitely not there yet, and by any means. And it'll take the support of these recent sponsors, who I love to death. It'll take their consistent support, a large community effort, a large expensive community effort to really make spectatorship even possible via multiple perspectives and capture cards, and a lot of consistency. You were talking earlier before our Best Team Maker about how really the only thing we had to be able to get what we want in terms of spectator mode is really to just cry out for Nintendo and just say, please, please, please. And really the only way to do that, I think, is just show consistent effort in broadcasting Splatoon. Show consistent effort of even being willing to shell out that $100 or $200 for that capture card, and so that you can make an audience, you can allow for further casting of events. I think it's going to be through continued community effort that we even remotely have a chance. And if that doesn't happen, then it's not going to happen. This is not the kind of thing that Nintendo is going to do on their free will.
The bottom line is that if you really believe that Splatoon can be something big, just start playing games in it. Just start trying to join as many tournaments as you can. Check around your friends. Like, who is anyone playing Splatoon right now? Do you guys want to get a game together?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to arrange? These teams are already arranging their own scrims. It's not something that people mandated to do. It's just something that people got together and said, we want to show that we're the best at this game. And it's really cool to see that happen. We see teams starting to become more consistent. They're sort of, at first it was sort of just people with their friends, like, hey, let's get a group of 3 or 4 people together. Let's play some Splatoon together. And then you got people who are actually really serious about building a team, and they're sort of playing as much as they can every day. They're going over strategies and tactics every day. And from that, you can see the really strong teams come out on top of each event that comes. On Squid Squad Spades and the Squid Box are some of those names that appear at the top. You also see teams like Offshore, some teams like C-, NSTC. All these teams are, you see them at almost every event, and you're just like, I know who that team is. I know what they like to do. I know sort of how they play. I'm going to follow that team because they're really cool to watch. And it's all about sort of dedication at this point.
I think, dedication and I think a huge part that some teams are missing out on is you make your team and the community so much more palatable to an outside viewer if you just act like you're as professional as possible. And I don't mean you have to not post memes on Twitter or Squid Boards. I don't mean that, but just setting up a website that looks half decent, or going on Twitter and making a Twitter account for your team. These actions look small, but I think they end up making the scene look like something much larger than you would think it'd be. And I think, I know I've referred to the Mario Kart community like too many times at this point, but it's really promising to see this happen in a game that definitely has potential for a competitive play. It's really promising to see everything that's happened for it, but I think ultimately the community attitude is also like so much better than the likes of Mario Kart, where you have people that are like very much willing to try different things, like I try to take this as seriously as possible because they see the potential in it. And I think a huge key in that was the fact that Nintendo even like gave the idea for it. I remember seeing a Nintendo video that promoted Splatoon that even mentioned esports, and as little as that factors into like much of anything.
If you remember, there was an Evo commercial for Splatoon.
Yeah.
That was
It was
like
Evo.
it was like all the competitive players here like Evo Splatoon is awesome. It's like being held up by competitive players that are
Right.
well known in the community.
One of the
And-
quotes from the Street Fighter players is, "I just want to body people in Splatoon."
Yeah, no, and the fact that it was like even promoted by Nintendo like that, I think, really helped. Outside perception of the game, and even which thus leaked into like community perception of the game and how seriously people take it. And it's really cool because that didn't really happen for a community like Mario Kart. Kind of sucked for someone like me who decided to waste 7 years of their life on that, but it is what it is, and I think it's really cool to be able to see that start from the beginning. Anyways, so yeah, no, I think we've touched on like how do we keep it growing? What does the scene kind of need? Consistent effort, really, and a couple of people more than willing to shell out money, and sponsors being willing to invest money, at least in capture cards, into their players, which would be phenomenal. I can't say that word still. That would be absolutely phenomenal.
also, make sure everyone has TV so they can play.
Is that not a thing? Do
Well,
people just straight up play with their gamepad? No, it's not even possible.
It's sort of a joke of what happened to one of the teams
Oh,
during
right.
the tournament, but
Who was that in particular? That was like
Oh,
that was like Simp,
that
right?
yeah.
Yeah. God
Yep.
bless him. I don't know how old he is, but God bless him either way.
That's where it starts. Just make sure everyone on your team has a TV, and then you can just start playing.
As long as you don't try to rank up the S plus and throw your gamepad across the room and pick up your gamepad to find that it's been cracked in various places that you'd rather have it not be cracked, then you should be fine.
I gave up on ranking a long time ago.
I am very much still trying to get to S, and I am trash. God. At this point, I think. Is there anything else that you guys would like to touch on? Anything that we didn't mention in particular? Because we are nearing that 1 hour point, and we're not going to have like a harsh finish to it. But any other ideas that you thought I didn't bring up, or that you didn't bring up, that you really want to bring up right now that we didn't discuss?
Just be careful if you see any octolines in your games, guys. If you see one, don't run. Stay there.
They're very friendly as long as you just like play with them. Otherwise, they really throw a tantrum, and you have some very Annie Tibbers-esque anger issues. Yeah. Sly, anything coming from you?
I'm feeling pretty good about everything we've covered here.
Yeah, cool. So coming up soon this week, guys. Of course, we mentioned it before, but Nintendo's tournament is coming up October the 3rd, October the 4th. Also, something to note, if you guys want to follow the Japanese community at all, they're having a massive 279-team online tournament. There's this one team in particular that just hosts these ridiculous tournaments, and it's absolutely fascinating to see the progression of the Japanese scene, regardless of whether you can read Japanese or not. So if you just like seeing Japanese characters and a lot of retweets and favorites and a general number that indicates like how many teams are in their tournament, then you can feel free to follow. I believe it is Team iOS_Ika. I'll just post it in the chat. Whatever.
I mean, talking about dedication, now that is a team dedicated to that game, and they are. I don't know how they're pulling that many those huge numbers.
Oh, I know.
I want that secret.
I know what they're doing. They just live in the right place. They just live in a place that's fully accepted Splatoon by the masses, and I have no idea why it's.
As long as you don't live in Hokkaido, you're good.
Yeah. It's really cool to see how I wish I could, fully be a full weeaboo, so I could, translate for us and like even be able to cast Japanese matches. That's my dream.
They do have a tournament coming up. I heard it's called Psy Cup or something. I mean, they're aiming to get 100+ teams already.
No,
So
there's a tournament this weekend that's supposed to be with 279 teams. So
yeah,
okay. So let's talk about that. 279 teams, four people per team. Quick math, more than
a little bit over 1,100.
Yeah, and that's like not even taking into consideration substitutions or anything. That is maddening. That is insane. That is insert superlative here. It's amazing to see that, and I feel like as a Western community, we're nowhere near that mark yet. But it's
I keep asking like, who are the top teams right now, and the answer I get from people are the Japanese are. The Japanese are always the top teams.
Funny thing, actually, for Inkstorm, another plug, October 10 to 11. I register now at endgamegg.net. If you guys care about Japanese competition, I'm in touch with one of the people that are friends with the TOs and stuff, and there's going to be an effort to bring home the winning team, or not bring home, but bring the winning team overseas, sort of, quote unquote, to play in Inkstorm, despite the very awful hours. And so I will be very much curious to see how an American team fares against the likes of the Japanese, especially because Endgame has plans with the Premier League, with inviting like the top teams in a region to play in this seasonal league or whatever. I'm not going to talk too much about that right now because that's on the down low. But we have
plugging in, guys, plugging in.
we have plans to be able to expand to. We'd like to fully open an Endgame Japanese league and host the top Japanese teams and whatever. But upon talking with the guy that's helping us out, he says the Japanese scene, quite frankly, has no interest in the Western community at all. Or they have no interest in it. However, he did say that if the Japanese team that wins that massive 279 team tournament, if they happen to get beaten in any phase of the tournament, that will potentially, cause some more interest. He thinks it would potentially drive some more interest from the Japanese scene that generally has no reason to really look outside. They have a massive player pool, and so they don't really think too much of the States or Europe or whatever. So, yeah. No, I think if they are able to play in the upcoming Inkstorm tournament, then it's going to be very interesting to see how they.
Basically, what they're saying is get good, guys.
Yeah, basically. I hope y'all can get good. I'm not playing. I'm not the one there.
Gotta get good fast.
Yeah. No, that's coming up in less than 2 weeks. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's about it from us, I believe. If you guys are wondering where Nintendo is, he had a little bit of an emergency and couldn't show up, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I think we'll be seeing him in future podcasts. We'll be seeing, of course, Best Team Maker in future podcasts. BTM, any future Hypest team tournaments that are coming up that we should know of?
I mean, if right now we're still in the planning stages for the next Splatoon tournament we're going to host for the Splatoon subreddit. But if you're interested in Smash Brothers, I would recommend you to come check us out, our tournaments on the subreddit for Smash Brothers, as we're also the official team for that subreddit. Right now, our number is a little small right now because we're in the middle of some transitioning in how we're going to arrange all these events. But if you're in love with Smash Brothers and you want to look for some people to play against online, come check us out over there.
Yeah, once again, you guys can follow them at Hypest Team on Twitter. HYPEST and then team right after that. But yeah, great group of people. They know how to actually run tournaments pretty solidly. Ink or Sync. And yeah, no, you should definitely depend on them for tournaments. In the meantime, if that's it from us, then we'll have some quick. I'll tune into the chat now. If you guys have any questions regarding the Splatoon scene or whatever we're doing as Endgame or whatever Hype is doing, take like 2 minutes, 3 minutes or so to answer some questions, and that'll be it from us. And then we'll release that Inkstorm trailer that we've been alluding to. That our lovely Skyfoy Mel, she's worked on it pretty well, and I'm super excited to release it. Kind of, sort of, yeah.
All right, one sec. I'm sort of looking into the chat right now, and I'm seeing a lot of Kappas and
Yeah,
Fog Champs there. I wonder what happened.
nah, man. It's just our lovely Splatoon community, that's all. Don't hate. I'm gonna... Unfortunately, I may have misplaced the trailer, so I'm gonna try to find that.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna try to
All
find
right,
that really quick.
That's no good.
Shh,
All right,
don't.
I'll do a song and dance and just distract the audience while you
Yeah.
get something going.
No,
Honest.
don't do it, please. Please don't. All right. Yeah, I'll be able to bring it up. In the meantime, if you guys find any questions, feel free to shoot them at me or at us in general. I'm not looking at it right now.
Yeah. So hey guys, how you doing?
Come on, chat. Any questions?
Nah?
I know you have some.
No, they don't have any. They're not interested.
No
in
questions?
Us. They're not. We're not
No one's
interesting.
interested.
We're not interesting, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I'll just say once more again, just if you do encounter the Octoling hack, just do not leave that game or else your console will get soft locked. And in the case that your console does get soft locked, you can either, if you have a backup save, you can do that, or you can, the Splatfest will be able to help that up. And I mean, since this is a really recent thing, I'm pretty sure Nintendo is working very hard to get this exploit fixed right now. Just as a warning, just be careful out there. If you see a wild Octoling, don't run.
When am I accepting your team submission for Inkstorm Fan 1? I got an email recently for confirming a payment, so that might be you. Apologies to Catsby. Why is our community so far behind the meta on gear and default strategies? Is it? This is something I'll leave it to you guys, in particular, Sly. Sorry to put you on spotlight, but
I guess we are kind of behind. I mean, it's really hard to decide what the Japan meta is right now because a lot of tournaments over there have been Turf War, and you can only really see them on squad battles, and even then, you don't know if it's an actual team. Like, I don't think I've seen a Japanese team with all tags in their names. I mean, I recognize a lot of tags from them, but I haven't seen a full team for sure.
I think what's interesting is that I don't think they do turf wars. I think like the big one, they actually do splat zones as the mode of choice. I think that's sort of the mode that they're all focusing on doing over there right now. And so I guess the question is, would you want to have a competitive meta where only splat zones are a thing? Or would you want to extend it to Rainmaker and Tower Control as well?
Speaking of someone's asking about map rotations in tourneys. I think map rotations are really good for like efficiency, which is something that clearly we've lacked in some previous tournaments. And yeah, no, I think like the Halo style rotations will work very well. And I know Endgame in particular is looking to use it. Bestie Maker and Hypus has used them in their tournaments. The map rotation that's decided by tournament organizers in advance, I think, is really efficient. However, we're implementing a new map rotation style system for top 8 and Inkstorm, which will be really interesting. It actually introduces the concept of picks and bans in a very healthy way, not banning out complete modes. And teams are ultimately going to be forced to choose between completely dedicating their bans to a certain mode rather than like a team's actual good maps and game types. They'll be forced between choosing that or the alternative. And yeah, a pick and ban phase will be introduced to at the beginning of each set of a game, so that'll be super interesting, and that'll be something we can definitely talk about when we know more about like teams' particular cheese strats and how good a team is at a particular game type. But yeah,
I mean, at the moment right now, the best thing we can do is just try to host as much as we can, and over time we'll spot sort of the problematic issues with some maps and mode combinations. And I mean, when we get to that point, we'll be able to deal with it then. But I think for now, it's all going to be pretty open to just any map, any rotation. We haven't really figured out like what is sort of the best order to do it in, which are the best maps to start out with, and which are the best maps that we probably shouldn't be using. Right now, we can't really decide that. It's way too early to think about it, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Someone
just keep playing more games and show us that you can cheese anybody every time you can when you're on a certain map.
Someone asked earlier what particular Japanese team we might be looking for. There was a team that won a former 100-something team tournament, and that was, I think, GK or GS. I forget the tag. So I'm looking forward to seeing them in particular.
I know Regen has also won a tournament in Japan.
Yeah. I think there
Well-
that was one of the lands, right, Sly?
Yes, it was.
Okay, yeah. One of the $1 million lands or whatever the fuck. So
There's I think one of the winners is a Grega or something like that. Gureiga. They're one of the teams that have been performing very well over there. And I mean, I don't know much about the Japanese scene, to be frank. And I only recently heard about their giant tournaments over there. But I do hope that we'll be able to see more of them in the future. And I'm very curious about how they play and what they're able to do with us.
right. Okay. I think we're going to end it off on that note, guys. Best Team Maker, appreciate you coming out. Glad you had a couple of words to chime in with, Sly. Lovely. Sly, you're my mother, and I look forward to my second birthday. As we can finally proclaim that I have passed that very young age of 1, and I'm finally a big boy at the age of 2 on the next episode of KRAK-ON AIR. Do I say KRAK-ON AIR or KRAK-ON AIR? Because I like saying KRAK-ON AIR because that makes makes it so illustrious. So
KRAK-ON AIR. You might want to be careful about that. Crack
no,
on air.
I think that's what I'm doing right now, ain't it? I don't know. Anyways, guys, we're gonna debut the Inkstorm trailer actually very soon. So if you guys want to stick around for a couple minutes, we'll be showing that very, very shortly. But thank you guys for coming out. We'll be doing these every 2 weeks or so. We might be doing a special edition one next week just to like cover teams and like really highlight teams and like discuss like who we think is going to win it and stuff. But that is going to be another thing entirely. So with that being said, any last words from you guys?
Yeah, it's been great coming here and talk about Splatoon.
Yeah.
Very, very fun. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. All right.